Okay, we are live. Welcome. Thanks everybody for coming by. Today's meetup is on Android analytics and big data. We've got two speakers here. Feel free to ask questions during the presentations. If it gets into a longer drawn-out discussion, we'll try to defer that till afterwards. There'll be some time afterwards to do some networking, talk about different things. Save your long discussion points, but you can ask questions along the way. The next event, there's going to be a Coursera Android class that we're doing. Next event is going to be Saturday here, a little study group if people are taking a class and interested in talking about it. Or if you just want to come talk about Android on Saturday, you're welcome to do that. Tentatively, we have an Android Wear event scheduled for June 10th. It looks like that's probably going to be rescheduled due to conflict with the venue here. So I don't know when that's going to be rescheduled to. We're kind of also waiting for Google to tell us when the code labs are ready. So that will either be probably somewhere around the 20th or the 7th at this point. But I think the 5th we're having a call with the GDG North America organizer. Hopefully we'll get us that time. And that event is going to be on, it's going to be a code lab for Android Wear, and everyone will actually get to load up an emulator and try out, actually writing some code, sending some things between your phone and the emulator, emulate a smartwatch. And we're hoping to get some coupons for that event for significant discounts to Android smartwatches that will be available in July. So that will be the exciting part of that. Other than that, that's all the updates. So I'll hand it over to Dave, and he's going to talk about using Google Analytics with Android. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I'm Dave Nicole. I'm with Career Fair Plus, and yes, I couldn't resist putting our branding all over the presentation. So I am our sales and marketing person. Too much for me to pass up. I'm going to talk a little bit about Google Analytics, so please stop me if you have any questions. I'm probably going to move pretty quickly and not dive into a lot of detail. I was the one responsible for implementing Google Analytics on Android. I did, I think, all of the Android UI work for our app. So fairly familiar with the ins and outs of Android development. And if I could do the Google Analytics stuff, then pretty much do that. I'm not a developer. With that, a little bit, I'll talk about who we are, just so you have an idea of why I'm standing up here. What is Google Analytics, a little bit how to do it in Android, what you get out of it. So Career Fair Plus is a mobile app. We built it for students to use during and before career fairs to be more prepared, more successful. We launched about 1.5 years ago. This last spring, we landed some pretty big customers: Stanford, MIT, Georgia Tech, Michigan, Auburn, Ohio State. This is not a comprehensive list, and we're looking to expand significantly in the next couple of months. So we've had one guy go full-time on this. I've actually resigned and I work part-time in this and part-time on another startup. And we're all rolling off in probably the next 9 to 12 months. Kenny is not leaving yet. All right, so why analytics? Why was it important to us? What were we looking for to get out of this? Our schools really want data on their students. So it's a way of providing data to our customers, not just to us. It really helps them manage their career fair process, improve everything, and understand how their students behave. What were the students doing? And they just, in general, everybody nowadays feels they need to have more data. They don't even know what they want to do with it, but they want more of it. So this was a way for us to deliver that, as well as improve our app, our experience, our service that we provide to our customers. So then why Google Analytics out of the others that we could choose? Well, it's actually really, really easy, especially in Android and Chris can attest in iOS, to hook up Google Analytics. It's lines of code. So it's very straightforward. The dashboards and the reports you get, there's a lot of data in there. So if when you get to learn how to use it, you can actually extract very meaningful data information that you can then take action on. And best of all, it's free. So for a bootstrap startup, free is extremely important. So, what does it mean for us? And I'll give an example a little bit later on of what it actually enabled us to do from improve our user experience and our customer experience. But it's really about understanding the data and determining what behaviors are going on based on ones and zeros coming across. And through different views in Google Analytics, you can get to that. And the way you have it hooked up in the code allows you to mine different pieces of data, different interaction points within the app. So, how do you get started? Go and sign up. Everybody's got an email address. You go through, it's all out on the web. You just go and sign up. You get started, you get an ID number when you do that. We created one, of course, for the enterprise. So you get this ID number, and that's what you'll map into your app as well as on the site. So that's how it knows who you are. The apps all then report back with that ID number, so everything's tracked to that. And then there's SDKs for both the Android and iOS. Pretty straightforward download. With the libraries, and you're good to go. And then it's, like I said, lines of code. And you set up a couple permissions. You set up in your Android manifest what your ID number is, and a couple other tags. And then in each activity, every time it starts, you say, go start me my Google Analytics tracker. And then when it's stopping, you're telling it to stop. And then at different points, you can say send an event. So with like 1 or 2 lines of code, you can also say send this event when a user clicks at this point. And what were they doing? What other data was selected? So there's an idea of custom dimensions. I don't have the code in here, but out on Google Analytics, you set up custom dimensions. So for us, it was which company is it? Which fair are they in? And I think which school are they in? And so now anytime a user takes an action on a company, it sends back something to us, and we're able to track how many companies were favorited, how many companies were viewed in the details view, which allows us to understand what the students are doing in aggregate at a school, provide that back to university, say, okay, who is the favorite school on campus?
So you're able to track the time they spend looking at a screen via the activity.
Yep. So I just cropped a little bit of our standard view, and it's not coming through great, but we can see all the screens they go to, and as well as how long they spend on each, on average.
And I'll just throw in real quick. They also give you, and I don't know if you have a thing there, but you can see what screens they went to and what screens they went to from that. So you can track their flow in the application.
So you can see if they're missing a screen every time or something.
Yeah, if there's something that, well, no one ever went to this thing that we thought was a great feature.
You can find their workflows,
Exactly.
what they do. When you give this to like Ohio State, do you have to compile it, or do they get to go right to Google and look at it?
Currently, we are compiling that data and sending it. So we have, they're called segments, which allows us to filter based on which school it is. And we set up our Ohio State all fair filter. It only pulls the data for that. You change your date ranges on the website, and now you can pull down a report.
So you have.
We are going to be building our own customer portal that pulls that data and filtered for them, and then they're allowed. Then they can go log into our web interface that is back into the Google Analytics through the Analytics web API. That's in process for the summer, not done. So it is a manual process for us to deliver the data. There are options to email PDFs on a weekly basis, not the greatest, well, implemented feature within Google Analytics. It doesn't always send out the PDF you expect. Wouldn't recommend doing that for a customer service perspective.
So, you want to make this from network, how does the tool out for once
the question was, if you're not connected to a network at the time, what does it do? It'll queue up all those messages, and as soon as you're connected, spit them all out.
You can also specify, there's a default period at which will send a bunch of data, so it's not sending it piecemeal. You can set that, so if you're expecting to work on high latency network.
So really with Google Analytics, what's nice, a couple lines of code, you're up and running. And then you add a little bit more and you get richer information. You add a little bit more and you can change what it's doing. So you can get up and running very quickly, and then you can, as you figure out what you really want to do, you can do what I do and hack it together until it does what you want it to do. Other questions? So this is our standard dashboard for a school. I picked University of Pittsburgh. This is over time what the students are doing. So this is just active users. This is the day of the fair, of course. So we're able to show the schools that there is some activity. This makes them feel good that their students are researching and preparing ahead of the fair instead of just showing up the day of. However, you do see a lot of them download and become active users the day of. Adult students put 10 odd years you want. One thing that's interesting is the number of iOS users versus Android and college students. It's always 2 to 1, iOS versus Android within college students, which is very different from the rest of the population. I don't know what we do with that. I'm trying to think of a way to sell that. I haven't gotten there yet. We can see how many sessions they do. And then what the schools really care about is top 10 favorites. So we enabled this through custom dimensions to collect which company is part of which click. And we get a list of the favorites and the list of, there's a detail view. And if you look at the two of those, we started looking at this across 40 fairs this fall, or this spring. We noticed something. So this is where we get into what does it do for us as well, how do we improve user or customer experience. You notice there's a bunch of A's in the details view. What's happening is, the first time they go into the fair, it's an alphabetical list of the companies, and they just click one of the A's there. So they're getting a lot of detailed views, but then you look, there's not as many of those in the actual favorites. So what they really care about is not the same. So that drove us to, one of the things we do is in the splash screen, we put up sponsor logos. And it was somewhat effective. But what we're able to determine is, and this is faded a bit, is instead of just having a straight alphabetical list, we put our sponsor or sponsors rotated through at the top. And the schools then are able to show that their sponsors are getting more click-throughs as a result of that. And that allows them to sell to their customer. So just a quick example of us changing our interface based on the data that we get back from Google Analytics. And I'm done, so I'm glad to take any questions.
Some questions.
So Google Analytics is free, but you know what they're doing with your data? You have any idea?
I have no idea.
So actually, when I went through, I went through and the capture does like starting the sign up stuff. I just went through the guide thing, and they have a number of checkboxes. I don't know what they all are, where you can say, you know, kind of what you want to allow and not allow. So they give you a little bit of control. You know, do you really know what they're doing? You know, do you really know what they're doing?
Screen the customer user product.
Yes.
Which for us is an okay trade.
Okay, so like, what code do you put on each click to differentiate? Is that tough?
It's a send event. It's like one line of code.
And you give the event a name, and then when you go to your Google Analytics page, you see that name or something?
An event can be any number of things, but where we can set custom dimensions in there as well. So that's where I set what company.
You want to bring up actual code?
So custom dimensions are the way that you define OSU.
That for us, that's the way that we chose to implement it. There are other ways to get that kind of information back, but I am not familiar with them. The nice thing about custom dimensions is it has a scope setting which allowed us to say, are we in a fair, are we in a company, and we could define different scope levels within our app that were meaningful to us. I have one other thing to admit, and that's we're not on the latest, on Android, not on the latest Google Analytics to Universal Analytics, and we have not upgraded quite yet. Be sometime in the next couple months.
Can you do not just like clicks, but also other user events? Cover like anything on track.
So with the simple thing, so this is what I have up now, is this just this one line has the send event.
Can you zoom it?
Yeah. Whoops.
I believe so. I don't know. We don't have a lot of gestures in our app. So, go ahead.
You guys have
Scroll
anything
plus, I think.
for user information, say,
Oh, no worries.
for like a, engineering or more of a person,
We have, so the question was, do we have information on who the student is? Currently, no, we do not collect a profile from them. And that was more a choice of complexity and privacy stuff that we didn't want to deal with out of the box. We will be doing that eventually, and that would be potentially something we collect through this. We do watch what they, or we can watch what they filter, so they can filter on major and say, you know, I only want to see computer engineering majors that are hiring, or companies that are hiring computer engineering majors, and we can collect that kind of thing. But it's not tied to a understand the question?
In terms of when we release to store, or
What Google Analytics stuff? So currently it's all anonymous. So we're not collecting user information in the sense that it's your personal information. It's all anonymized through Google Analytics. So the question is, does the user know that we are collecting Google Analytics information? I'd have to go
Say
read
no.
all of the disclaimers that come along with putting something up on an app store.
Better like the same stuff. Just explain that public web.
Yeah.
It's probably a little, that's policy in terms of users.
You're the one that.
well,
Can you just put it for the service? Is that good?
yeah. Well, from everything I've seen, you know, collecting at least this level of analytics is essentially best practices for any sort of app release. If you want to do any sort of, because this supports anything you want to do as far as like any A/B testing, if you're familiar with A/B testing, you need to have at least some level of.
We get back crash reports. There's just some stuff that's built in. You'd want to do, I think, in any app.
How long is Google Analytics started? Are you your own backup? Like you start chopping off the data every year or something? Like you're supposed to know?
So the question was, how long does Google Analytics store our data? The answer is I have no clue at all.
At this point, it's been indefinite.
Yeah, it's not specified. Then since we've been up and running, we go all the way back.
You guys before?
Yes. They give you a number of different. I mean, it's a standard like CSV, Excel.
You can export to Google Sheets, you can
Google
export
Sheets.
to Excel, you can export to CSV. How
Yeah.
useful that is, I don't know.
Some of their export tools are better than others. GF1 is hot. CSV you can have to go long.
Other questions? Does anybody else use Google Analytics in an app?
On the web, but not on Android yet.
So I will say that the iOS version is very similar. I think, so I did have to upgrade when they went to the new 64-bit. The old version didn't support that anymore, and it took me 30 minutes.
It's made to be super simple to do, and then you can get richer and richer. So if you are building an Android application, I would highly recommend just going ahead and sticking in some other. So well worth the data you get back.
So just to talk about some of these, so in this thing, when you're specifying custom events, basically saying this is the event type, and UI action is one of the common ones, and then button press and what button it is, and then you have this optional value, which I think by default is a 1, and so that allows you to track your increments. So every time this event gets triggered, on your back end will say this action occurred X number of times. And you can tweak that. So if you were tracking, for instance, with a game and you wanted to track how people are scoring, you could use that.
So which of those did you get to make up the value for all of them?
You're talking about the custom dimension.
Yeah.
You have to dig probably a little bit deeper to find where the custom dimension is set up. This is also code that I wrote about a year ago.
And you get to make all those up yourself?
You do. You can send whatever string. Those are just strings. You send them.
Normally they have to relate to, like, if you set a custom dimension, then you have to specify it somewhere, and then it's a match, and it'll track it.
If you're doing iOS and Android, you do have to be careful about what things match in both.
Because of course they are slightly different.
Yes, you can have two different sets of data coming in, and then you don't really get anything.